accused has been forwarded to the learned judicial magistrate with a request to remand the accused. When an accused can be remanded? Section 167 1 CRPC confers powers on the learned judicial magistrate to take the accused into judicial custody or police custody. The power of remand, taking the person's liberty, touching upon the liberty of an individual, can be curtailed only under the due process of law or the process established under law. The process established under law is Section 167 CRPC gives powers to the learned judicial magistrate to remand an accused. Incidentally, a question will arise at the time of first remand. Can the judicial magistrate remand the accused for uncertain period? That is to say, whether an accused, if produced for the first time before the magistrate, can remand be for a period of 2 months or 3 months? No. For the first time, the total period of remand would be only for 15 days. For the first time, to pass an order of remand, accused must be physically produced before the learned judicial magistrate. If an accused has been suffering for a serious issue, if he is taking treatment in the hospital, Criminal Rules of Practice 2019 gives power to the learned judicial magistrate to go to the hospital and to make an order of remand. Yes, now Section 167 CRPC gives power to the learned magistrate to take an accused into custody. Now, incidentally, another question will arise whether this power of remanding the accused is absolute. Can the learned judicial magistrate remand the accused for quite long time? That is to say, until the trial is over. Suppose final report has not been forwarded to the judicial magistrate. Can a judicial magistrate remand the accused for indefinite period is the question. The answer would be the power. No doubt, judicial magistrate has been vested with the power to remand the accused under Section 167 subclass 1 CRPC. This is not unfettered power. Section 167 subclass 2 CRPC will come into play. We have to read Section 167 subclass 2 conjointly with Article 21 of Constitution of India. Section 167 2 CRPC restricts the power of the judicial magistrate in making remand. The maximum period of remand pending investigation, pending final report is 60/90 days as the case may be. Suppose punishment for an offence is up to 10 years. The remand can be made up to 60 days. Suppose life sentence or death sentence is there. The maximum period of remand would be only 90 days. Suppose an accused is produced on 91st day or 60 days is completed. What is to be done in such a case? The learned magistrate has to inform the accused that remand will not be extended. He is going to furnish sureties. So the learned judicial magistrate ought not to extend the remand after 60 or 90 days. It is known as default bail. Section 167 subclause 2 does not speak about grant of bail, but it categorically restricts the power of the judicial magistrate in extending the period of remand. So the total period of remand would be 60 or 90 days. Another question will immediately arise. Sir, is there any law, is there any exception to the general rule that section 167 CRPC mandates that there cannot be any remand extension after 60 or 90 days as the case may be pending investigation, and if no final report is forwarded to the judicial magistrate? Yes, exception is general. In many laws there are exceptions are available. In TADA there is an exception to section 167(2), and UAP Act there is an exception, and in Maharashtra Organized Crime Prevention Act there is an exception, and in NDPS case there is an exception. This exception cannot be ipso facto utilized by the prosecuting agency. There are some parameters have been given. The investigating officer has to file a report before the judge or judicial magistrate concerned, stating that what are all the steps already taken, what are all the materials already collected, and why the prosecuting agency, the investigating officer is in need of other time. They have to satisfy the judge stroke learned magistrate. Only then the time will be extended by the learned judge. Unless otherwise, bail has to be granted. This has been clarified in number of judgment by the Honorable Supreme Court. One of the most celebrated cases by the Constitution Bench of the Honorable Supreme Court in Sanjay Dutt case. In that case, the Honorable Supreme Court has categorically analyzed the law under section 167(2) CRPC. So according to the Constitutional Bench of the Supreme Court, it is an indefeasible right accrued on the accused. So it is an indefeasible right, it cannot be denied, and the merit of the case cannot be canvassed when an application under section 167(2) CRPC is moved before the court of law. Yes, learned magistrate receives a final report, then magistrate has to take cognizance. My friend may ask a question, sir, what action of the learned magistrate would amounts to taking cognizance? No doubt, section 190 of CRPC will come into play, but what action of the learned judicial magistrate would amounts to taking cognizance has not been defined in the code. But as per the pronouncement of Honorable Supreme Court and various High Courts including the Honorable Madras High Court, as soon as learned judicial magistrate applies judicial mind into the facts, he is said to have taken cognizance. He is said to have taken cognizance. Yes, sir. FIR has been registered, investigation has been started, accused was arrested, he has been produced before the learned magistrate within 24 hours from the date and time of arrest. Remand also passed. What will be the next stage in the process? Bail has to be moved. Two types of cases: bail in bailable offence, bail in non-bailable offence. In case of bailable offence, bail has to be granted, it cannot be denied. Bail can be granted either by the officer himself or by the learned judicial magistrate concerned. This is known as bailable offence. Yes, sir. Suppose bail is ordered, an accused is unable to furnish security or surety to get himself released on bail. if he is unable to furnish security within 7 days from the date of arrest, he has to be considered as an indigent person, and the explanation appended with section 436 clearly says he has to be released on his own bond. Section 437(6) explanation, it is mandatory with the period has to be calculated not from the date of remand but from the date of arrest. The next is bail in non-bailable offence. It can be granted by the learned magistrate, and the exclusive power of the Court of Session and Honorable High Court is under section 439 CRPC. Incidentally, another question will arise. Sir, according to the schedule appended in Code of Criminal Procedure, the trial are classified into two. One is exclusively triable by Court of Session and another is triable by Judicial Magistrate. Does not speak about or does not ban the Judicial Magistrate in granting bail when an offence is exclusively triable by the Court of Session. This question was raised before the Honorable Supreme Court and subsequently to the Honorable Madurai Bench of Madras High Court. So the answer is, in case of death sentence or life sentence, the learned magistrate has no jurisdiction to entertain application for bail. In all other cases, that is to say, except case of life sentence and capital sentence, the learned magistrate can very well grant bail even though the offence is exclusively triable by Court of Sessions. Yes, sir. Bail is granted. Then another question will arise. Now we talk about the rights of victim. Victimology has been developed in these times. Whether the bail granted by the court concerned can be cancelled, if so, by whom the bail can be cancelled. Section 437 subclass 5 and section 439 subclass 2 defines and speaks about cancellation of bail. Though the word cancellation of bail is absent in section 437(5) and 439 subclass 2, it speaks about commit him to custody. Commit him to custody. Once a person is on bail, he can be taken into custody once the order of bail has been cancelled. So long as a person is on bail, he cannot be taken into custody in the very same case. That means, as per this provision, bail can be cancelled. So question will arise, there is no provision in section 436, that is in bailable offence. That means, whether bail in bailable offence cannot be cancelled at all? No. It cannot be cancelled by the learned judicial magistrate who has granted bail for want of provision, for want of power. No doubt subordinate judiciary have no inherent power. When a provision of law gives power, that can be exercised. There is no inherent power. So bail in bailable offence cannot be cancelled by the learned judicial magistrate. But the very same magistrate can cancel the bail in a non-bailable offence as contemplated under section 437 subclass 5. An exclusive provision and power has been vested with section 439 subclass 2 CRPC. The very key word in section 439 subclass 2 CRPC is the bail granted under this chapter can be cancelled. The bail granted under this chapter has been coined in section 439 2 CRPC, which means bail in bailable offence, bail granted under section 436, 437, 438 as well under section 439 can be cancelled by either by court of session or by the Honorable High Court. Yes, bail can be cancelled. The another point will be raised by my learned brothers. Sir, under what ground bail can be cancelled? No doubt, on any ground bail may be opposed. Suppose gravity of offences, duration of custody and other points. But the very same points cannot be useful to cancel the bail because Article 21 speaks volumes. It will come into play when an accused misuses his liberty. If an accused threatens the witnesses, or if a accused, when he is on bail, during bail, commits the very same offence or offence in a grave manner, then the bail granted to him is liable to be cancelled. Sir, FIR has been registered, investigation has been started, accused has been arrested, bail has been ordered. We have seen till the cancellation of bail. Incidentally, another question will arise: what is investigation? As per section 2H CRPC, collection of all evidence is nothing but investigation. As soon as FIR is registered, investigating officer has to collect materials, both oral evidence and documentary evidence. So he has to record the true statement from the witnesses. The statement of witnesses has to be reduced into writing as contemplated under section 161(3) CRPC, and signature of witnesses should not be obtained since the same is barred under section 162 CRPC. The statement recorded under section 161 CRPC can be utilized only for the purpose of contradicting the maker and for no other purpose. If the public prosecutor making an attempt to mark this statement as a document, we have to raise our objection stating that this document is inadmissible into evidence. This can be used only for the purpose as contemplated under section 162 CRPC. For no other purpose, the statement recorded under section 161(3) CRPC can be utilized. Incidentally, another question may arise: sir, whether statement of witnesses can be recorded or statement from the accused can also be recorded is the question. No doubt. Any person is the language contained in section 161 subclass 3. So, statement of accused can also be recorded. There is no bar. Sir, as per section 162, it can be used only to contradict. It cannot be marked before the court of law. Can it be marked before the civil court? Can it be looked into by a writ court is a very bigger question. Yes, the ban created under section 162 CRPC is only for criminal court, and it can be looked into, it can be marked before the civil court, and writ court can also look into the 161 statements. Even when an application for disposal of property is pending before the learned magistrate, statement recorded under section 161(3) and even confession statement can be looked into. On the strength of those documents, an application for disposal of property can be ordered. There is no doubt at all, there is no bar.